Hello and welcome to the 30k channel. I'm your host, David Brains, and I've been joined by Steve and Ian. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good stuff. Now, really great to bring you this game. It's been on the boil for probably a few months now, or I know Ian and I spoke in March, didn't we?
Yeah, March.
So I think we're, August now, I think? Yeah, I think we're in August, middle of August. Yeah. It's taken a while to get together, but we are finally here. Night Lords and Raven Guard. Have to say, you blokes have not disappointed. Firstly, Steve, you've brought me an amazing Raven Guard army.
Thank you.
With an amazing Thunderhawk transporter. Looks absolutely spectacular. And Ian, you've brought me a really lovely Night Lords army with some real bespoke pieces in. A lot of time and love's gone into it.
Yeah, it's one of those armies where I've been silly and decided I'm going to convert or kitbash literally every model. So.
Love it. So, whatever happens today, it's going to be a beautiful looking game. There is no question about that. So, really keen to get in and have a look at this game. But firstly, I want to thank you both. Both of these gents have come from Bristol this morning. So, thank you so much for your efforts. I really appreciate that.
It's all right. A bit of a trek, but yeah, worth.
It is. You were a little bit close. You stayed with some friends closer to the channel.
Yeah, so my parents in Tewkesbury, yeah.
Ah, okay. But as well, you've had a few car issues and you've managed to hire a car for today and get over here. Yeah. So amazing effort. So thank you so much for doing that. And what a game, I'm really excited to see this Thunderhawk transporter in action. We've never seen one up close, and it's a beast, isn't it?
It is a beast, and I've decided that every time it gets killed, it's getting a kill marking on it. So, after a few games, it's going to have a few on there.
It's got to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. We've got a lightning to do the business, hopefully, so we'll see. But it's also transporting into battle 2 Vindicators.
It's the only way to get them to deep strike.
Oh, my word. I mean, that's pretty cool. I'm really interested to see, because my criticism of the transport is great, but there's not a lot of guns on it, and it's just a lot of points to infiltrate 2 models. But I'm interested to see how it works.
Well, 4 twin-linked heavy bolters is terrifying.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely terrifying.
That is true. I tell you, it's really, really interesting, because obviously the Thunderhawk's got it could potentially a D weapon on top, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, the normal one has, yeah.
Yeah, the turbo laser on top and stuff, but I mean, it is a beast of a model.
It does have a D weapon if you blow it up.
There's a challenge.
It scatters onto your dudes. So
God. It's going to be good. And then we've got this Night Lords force. A nice standard chassis contender, dreadnought there as well, box dread, and you've got your terror assault in a very dynamic pose, haven't you?
I do like a bit of movement on my models. Yeah. I'm as I say, I'm one of those guys that. For my sins, I like to make my Marines look like they are actually charging into battle and messing someone's day up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've tried to do a little bit of conversion work here and there, a little bit of, as I say, a lot of kit bashing has gone in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've gone for a terror assault, so you've got a ton of terror assault Marines. You've got 3 units. I think they're 5 and 7, aren't they? You've got some in the squads.
7, 7, and 8.
7, 7, and 8. Okay, cool. And it's really great because the armies are very, very similar in construction. You've got a smattering of assault units, you've got some Terminators. I think it's quite a reasonably balanced force, I guess. I think as well, the Raven Guard, it looks like you've got more as well.
I think I have. I've got 30 infantry, 20 with jump packs. So I have got a lot of boots on the floor.
Yeah.
That's one of the issues with running Terror Assault, because the Terror Marines are so expensive.
Yeah.
You get a lot for your points, but they're veteran squads with a bit more points poured into them. So
yeah, I think you've got quite a bit of firepower, particularly in the quad mortars and the Vindicators as well. So
don't forget Death Storm.
Yeah, and the Death Storm. Yeah. We've got some unique things to add to that later on in the game, which I'm really looking forward to seeing how they come in. So that'll be quite cool. Yeah, but you've also got some plasma as well, haven't you?
I like my plasma.
Yeah.
For my sins, I like killing my own people, basically. It's a bit of a Night Lordy trait.
Are they in the Rhino?
They are in the Rhino, yes, with the Master of Signal and Apothecary.
Okay, so that kind of gives them that few extra boosts, doesn't it?
Doesn't help.
Bit of protection, feel no pain. Is it 2s re-rolling, is it, I think?
Yeah.
The 2s, yeah. So that's a bit keen, isn't it?
Scary.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see how the lightning you've got kind of interacts with the Thunderhawk, whether it will kind of target it. It's 9 hull points, did you say, on the Thunderhawk?
9 hull points, yeah.
So it's whether you bother going for it or whether you use your stuff for something else. Maybe those Vindicators early in the game, I don't know.
This is it. If I can knock it out of the sky before it's deployed the Vindicators, then I assume they fall to the ground in fire as well.
I would imagine.
Strength 10 AP2 hit.
Might do the job.
Might do the job. Otherwise I'll wait for them to land and kill me to bits, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. It's a tricky one. The mission we're playing today, we've got Hammer and Anvil and we've got Tide of Carnage is the mission. So it's the one where your only points were 3, No Man's is 5, and 7 for your opponents. And of course, because we're playing Hammer and Anvil, you've got a lot of work to do, both of you, to kind of get within those deployment zones. Although if you've got a Thunderhawk transporter with 2 vehicles that are scoring, might be a bit easier, I don't know.
And Raven Guard infiltrate.
Yeah.
So I've got it maybe a bit easier initially.
Yeah.
But then I've got to deal with Terror Squads.
Terror Squads infiltrate as well.
Well, we might be on each other in turn 1, I don't know. So it'll be interesting to how they deal with each other. The board has got a ton of line of sight blocking terrain. So I was saying to these gents earlier when we were talking about the board and the mission, both of those assault squads have got to work really hard to kind of hug the cover, get over those larger rocks and get into the containers and into each other. So I think it'll be a bit of a master of manoeuvre, I think, for this game as well. I think you've got to work quite hard to get the best of that board to your ability, I think.
I'm intending to deep strike mine using Nuncio Voxes.
Okay.
So it's maybe a bit easier, but then I've got to stand in the open, getting shot at.
For a turn, yeah. And if you've got those plasma to bear quite quickly, and the Scorpius as well. Scorpius.
Yeah. And the plasma apothecary does have an augury scanner.
Okay. It sounds quite prickly, to be honest. I think there's some decisions to be made very on about how they're going to play out. So I think it's going to be quite a tense game, really. And also, as well, you discovered earlier that you've known each other for a little while, but you haven't seen each other for a few years now. So it's good to get you back and get you back having a game against each other.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, well, I'm looking forward to this. I say that every time, but I do generally mean it. I love watching games and seeing how the armies unfold on the battlefield. We're going to dig into these lists, work out exactly what they've taken, and then we will see you at the beginning of turn 1.
Here we have 3,000 points of Raven Guard, led by a Praetor. He has the Warlord trait, World Burner, that allows him to give D3 units with the Blast or Template special rule, Shred. I rolled a 2 for my result, and I have given Shred to the Deathstorm Drop Pod and the Quad Launchers. The army has no right of war. For the Raven Guard HQ, led by a Praetor, he is equipped with Artificer Armour, Digital Lasers, Iron Halo, Jump Pack, Melter Bombs, and Raven's Talons. Also in the HQ slot, we have a Chaplain, also armed with Artificer Armour, Jump Pack, Melter Bombs. He has a Refractor Field and a Plasma Pistol. For the third HQ slot for the Raven Guard, we have a Vigilator, armed with Artificer Armour, Refractor Field, and Bolter with special issue ammunition. For the first elite slot, the Raven Guard have infiltrated in a team of 2 quad mortars armed simply with frag shells. Second elite slot for the Raven Guard isn't infiltrating in, as they're armed in clunky Terminator armour, Tartaros Terminator armour. It is a squad of Tartaros Terminators. The Sergeant is armed with a grenade harness, a combi bolter, a power sword. With him, he has a Marine with a combi bolter chain fist, a second Marine with a combi bolter and a power fist, third Marine with a Reaper autocannon and chain fist, and finally, a Terminator with twin Raven's Talons. The third and final elite slot for the Raven Guard is an Apothecarian detachment. In that detachment, we have an Apothecary with Jump Pack and a second Apothecary with Augury Scanner and Artificer Armour. The Jump Pack Apothecary will be joining Dark Fury Squad, and the Artificer Armoured Apothecary will be joining the Seeker Squad. The first troop slot for the Raven Guard is filled by a Tactical Squad. They number 10 men, and they are in a Rhino. The Sergeant has Artificer Armour and a Lightning Claw. The squad additionally is equipped with a Nuncio Vox and Vexilla. They'll be spotting for the artillery and hopefully making deep strikers come in more accurately. Raven Guard's second troop slot is filled by a 10-man tactical squad. The Sergeant has Artificer Armour. Other than that, there are no further upgrades. Raven Guard's third and final troop slot is filled by a 10-man assault squad. The sergeant is wearing artificer armour and has Raven's talons. There are 2 power axes inserted in the squad, and all 10 men are carrying melter bombs. The first fast attack slot for the Raven Guard is filled by a 8-man seeker squad. The sergeant has artificer armour, and additionally one of the squad members has a Nuncio Vox. The second and final fast attack slot for the Raven Guard is a 7-man Dark Fury squad. The sergeant is armed with melter bombs, and there are no other upgrades. The first heavy support slot for the Raven Guard is a Deathstorm drop pod. It is equipped with Fragstorm missiles and the drop pod assault special rule. The second heavy support squad for the Raven Guard is a 3-man Sky Slayer squad. They are armed with 3 multi-melters, none of them are upgraded. The third and final heavy support slot for the Raven Guard is a Vindicator squadron. These guys will somehow be deep striking onto the board. They have no upgrades. And how would you deep strike 2 Vindicators onto a battlefield, I hear you ask? Thunderhawk Transporter. Its only upgrade is Void Hardened Armour.
3,000 points of Night Lords running the Terror Assault Rite of War, led by the Praetor Zuthal of the Dusk, and using the Warlord trait Child of Terror. Night Lords HQ is led by a Praetor, Zuthal of the Dusk. He is armed with a Nostraman Chainglaive, is wearing Artificer armour, and has a Iron Halo and digital lasers and a jump pack. The second HQ slot is a Master of Signal, Chironax the Red Weed. He is equipped with Artificer armour and a Nostraman Chainglaive. So the first elite slot is an Apothecarian detachment of 2 Apothecaries. The first one is equipped with Artificer armour, an Augury scanner and a Nostraman Chainglaive, and he will be joining the tactical support squad with plasma guns. The second Apothecary is equipped with a jump pack, Nostraman Chainglaive and power armour, and he will be joining the Night Raptor unit. The second elite slot is a Contemptor Dreadnought Talon. Is equipped with extra armour and a twin-linked Volkite Culverin. Has a Dreadnought close combat weapon with a twin-linked bolter. The third elite's choice is a Dreadnought Talon. He's armed with a plasma cannon and a Dreadnought close combat weapon with a plasma blaster. The final Night Lord's elite slot is taken up by a Legion Terminator squad in Cataphractii Terminator armour. The sergeant has a Chain Fist and Combi Bolter. There's 1 plasma blaster in the squad, and the rest of the Terminators all have Chain Fists. They are riding in a Spartan assault tank, which has a flare shield, quad las cannon sponsons, and a twin-linked heavy bolter. The first Night Lord's troops choice is a Legion reconnaissance squad. They are in recon armour, have sniper rifles. The sergeant is in artificer armour with a sniper rifle, and they have Camellia Line and a Nuncio Vox. The second Night Lord's troops choice is a tactical support squad armed with Legion plasma guns. They are 7 men strong. The sergeant has artificer armour, and they are in a Rhino armoured carrier with a dozer blade and extra armour. For 2 of the Night Lord's compulsory troop choices, there is 2 Terror squads that are identical. They are 7 men each armed with bolters, and both headsmen have artificer armour and Nostraman Chainglaives. For the final Night Lord's compulsory troop choice, there is a 8-man Terror squad. They are armed with Volkite chargers, and the headsman has artificer armour and a Nostraman Chainglaive. For the first Night Lord's fast attack choice, there is a Night Raptor squad. The Huntmaster has artificer armour, melter bombs, and a Nostraman Chainglaive, and the squad is armed with 2 Nostraman Chainglaives and 2 power swords. The second Night Lord's fast attack choice is a Primaris Lightning Strike Fighter, the Tenebris pattern Sionis Metis. It is armed with 2 Kraken Penetrator heavy missiles, ground tracking auguries, a Phosphex bomb cluster, and has twin-linked las cannons and twin-linked missile launchers. For the one and only Night Lord's heavy support choice, we have the Whirlwind Scorpius Artem Moriendi, armed with the Scorpius multi-launcher.
Here we are, Ian, Steve, we're deployed, ready to go. Raven Guard versus Night Lords. You've both had a whole heap of infiltrating, haven't you?
Indeed, yeah. A smidgen.
Yeah, you're super close to each other, which is really, really interesting. I think you're going to be on each other quite early in the game, I think. But Ian, you're going first at the moment. But yes. Steve, you fancy a Raven Guard first turn, don't you? Fancy a Seas?
It would definitely be in my best interest.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, let's have a friendly handshake, gents. Good luck to you both.
Good luck.
And let's see what we got.
Nice orange dice here. So close.
Get in. So on to Night Lord's turn 1. Night Lord's turn 1 movement. Night has descended using the Terror Assault rule. The Night Lords are attacking the Raven Guard at night time. The first Terror Squad in the centre tried to move up onto the crates, but the difficult terrain turned out to be a bit of a problem for them. Moving round into the centre, we've held our position to counter for any sneaky Raven Guard deep striking. The Whirlwind Scorpius at the back has stayed put, so it can shoot in the shooting phase. However, the sneaky Raven Guard Vigilator planted some bombs, but they had no effect. Moving into the centre, the Contemptor and Raptor with the Praetor unit have moved forward with the intent to engage the Raven Guard Tactical Squad. And finally, the Spartan moved forward and disgorged the Terminators with the intent of getting rid of that same tactical unit. Night Lord's turn 1 shooting. The Whirlwind Scorpius fired 2 rounds with the Scorpius multi-launcher towards the tactical squad in the middle. Unfortunately, both shots went wide and caused no casualties.
Cool.
The Spartan Assault Tank fired its quad las cannon and heavy bolter into the Rapier quad mortar unit, taking a Marine down, and used Power of the Machine Spirit to fire into the Seeker squad in the far corner, killing 1 Marine. However, because of the camo cloaks and the fact that it's night time, the other hit managed to just bounce off the cover that the camo cloaked Marines stood behind. Night Lord's turn 1 assault phase. Both the Terminators and the Praetor with his Raptor unit attempted to charge the Raven Guard tactical squad in the centre. Lots of Overwatch was fired, and both charges failed. So nothing really happened. So not a bad turn for the Night Lords. I've done a little bit of damage. We're moving up. We're trying to get into this lovely deployment zones. But I'm going to continue to move up and hopefully make more casualties next time out.
Raven Guard turn 1 movement phase. The Night Lords have fallen for the Raven Guard's ploy, and Deathstorm drop pod has dropped in, danger close to their lines. It was using the Nuncio Vox from the tactical squad within the Rhino. After the drop pod came in, the Rhino has moved forward 6 inches. The Seeker squad at the back has moved forward 6 inches. The tactical squad has stayed still, ready to Fury of the Legion in the shooting phase. The drop pod did land in range of the Plasma squad from the Night Lords. They did try to intercept, but due to the high velocity of the drop pod, they were unable to hit it. Raven Guard turn 1 shooting. The Deathstorm drop pod opened up with its full salvo. Unfortunately, it was closer to more of the Raven Guard than it was the Night Lords. However, due to night fighting being in effect, nothing was wounded. The Raven Guard quad mortars opened up. They actually caused a devastating barrage against the Raptor squad in the centre. They hit 14 times, and thanks to World Burner, ended up wounding 11 times. Ian then made some armour saves on Artificer armour, and no wounds were caused. Final shots of the Raven Guard shooting phase. The tactical squad in the centre unleashed a Fury of the Legion fusillade against the Raptors, scoring 36 hits, 19 wounds. However, due to the Artificer armour of the Sergeant and Front, the Night Lords tanked all but 3, which were in turn repaired by the Apothecary. The final act of the turn was for the Seeker squad to run forward 3 inches. All in all, that was a terrible turn for the Raven Guard. Really, that Raptor squad should not be standing there anymore. However, they are standing there proud and really willing to take out that tactical squad, I bet.
Night Lords, turn 2 movement. It's still night time thanks to the Terror Assault Rite of War, and the Lightning Primaris Strike Fighter has arrived from reserves. The Terror Squad in the centre of the board have hopped up onto the crates that gave them such a hard time last time, and the 2 Dreadnoughts have started stalking towards the Rhino with the intent of turning it into a massive pile of smoking rubble. The Terror Squad have started to move up. They are hopefully going to support the Terminators in a little move into the enemy deployment zone, and the Raptors walked forward to engage the Tactical Squad. I chose to walk them rather than jump, so I get the Hammer of Wrath attacks with my jump packs. And the Spartan moved up just to get a bit of a better firing line on the Seekers at the back there. Night Lords, turn 2 shooting phase. The Lightning screamed on to the board, firing las cannon and missile launchers into the Rhino armoured carrier. Unfortunately, the night time cover save stopped anything from any damage being taken. The Legion Dreadnought fired his Plasma Blaster at the Rhino with the same result as the Lightning. The night fighting cover save stopped anything from happening. He then attempted to fire his Plasma Blaster, but the ancient technology failed him with the Gets Hot rule, and he took a hull point. So the Contemptor Dreadnought decided to get in on the action against the Rhino armoured carrier, firing his Twinling Volkite Culverin into the front armour, and took a hull point off with a glancing hit. The Whirlwind Scorpius fired the Scorpius multi-launcher towards the Rhino armoured carrier. It fired 3 shots this turn, wrecking the transport with 2 penetrating hits. The Tactical Squad inside were forced to disembark, but passed their pinning check, so are free to do as they will next turn. The Night Lord's Terror Squad on the left flank opened up their bolters into the Raven Guard Tactical Squad that have just disembarked from the Rhino, scoring 1 kill. The Legion Recon Squad fired their sniper rifles into the Raven Guard Seekers. Unfortunately, only 3 of them could see, so there was a bit of a Hail Mary on that, and the Raven Guard's armour proved too much for the sniper rounds to go through. The Terror Squad on the right flank have run up 5 inches to follow the Terminators and keep supporting them. The Terminators decided to try and take some pot shots at the Rapier Quad Mortar, and whilst they hit with a lot of stuff, there wasn't much going on. It turned out its armour was a bit too thick for even the Plasma Blaster to go through. The Spartan continued to take its little pot shots at the Seeker Squad. Because of their excellent cover saves, again, only 1 of them got killed. At the Initiative 6 step, the Night Lord's Praetor charged into the Raven Guard Tactical Marines with his Nostrum and Chainglaive. Thanks to a talent for murder and Child of Terror, he caused 6 hits and 6 wounds, killing 5 Marines, including the Sergeant. Initiative Step 5, the Night Lords piled in and wiped the squad with their Chainglaives. Lots and lots of attacks, lots of rending, and because of talent for murder, they were killing on 2s, so everything's gone. And they are consolidating 5 inches. Night Lord's turn 2 overview. Not great, not terrible. The Lightning didn't do as much damage as I wanted it to, but I've wiped out that Tactical Squad in the middle, finally. Just trying to think about moving forward into the remainder of the game, waiting for that Thunderhawk Transporter to come in and ruin my day with those Demolishers. So I'm going to think about consolidating my place next turn and see what I can do. I'd like to get some kills in on that Seeker Squad as well, because I think they're going to cause some damage.
Raven Guard, turn 2, movement phase. 3 lots of reserves came in this turn. The first being the Sky Hunter Jetbike Squadron. The second being the Dark Fury Assault Squad. The third being the Legion Assault Squad. All 3 units took advantage of the Nuncio Vox in the Legion Seeker Squad, so didn't scatter. Further to those units coming in, the Tactical Squad that was untimely disembarked from their Rhino have moved forward to try and take out some of the Night Lords before getting taken down themselves. The first shots of the turn came from the Sky Hunter Jetbike Squad, who fired 3 multi-melters into the Night Raptor Squad. All 3 multi-melters hit, all 3 wounded. 2 Marines were taken out instantly. The sergeant would have been a third, but he passed a lookout sir. However, that lookout sir was moved on to the apothecary. The Raven Guard Seeker squad opened up into the Night Raptor squad using their Scorpius bolter rounds. One Night Lord was initially felled. The other shots would have taken out the sergeant. However, he successfully lookout sirred 4 shots onto the Praetor. The Praetor only failed 2 of those saves. The Legion quad mortars opened up onto the Night Lord's Terror squad by the lightning. The barrage hit 7 times, and thanks to World Burner, 3 of the Night Lord models were killed. After expending a ridiculous amount of ammo in turn 1, hitting and wounding absolutely nothing, the drop pod's targeting sensors are finally calibrated. 2 shots were fired into the Terror squad, hitting 7 Marines and killing 3. Final shooting of Raven Guard's turn 2. The tactical squad opened fire into the Terror squad that had previously been fired at by the drop pod, felling 1 Marine. End Raven Guard shooting turn 2. The Dark Furies ran 3 inches, splitting their formation to try and avoid any casualties from bombardments. The Assault squad ran 6 inches, doing the same but also advancing forward to hopefully get to grips with some Night Lords in the following turn. At the end of the Raven Guard turn, the Night Lords took their morale tests for 25% casualties. The first squad, the Night Raptors, they passed, also passing a pinning test from bombardment. The Terror squad on top of the containers, they also passed both the pinning and the morale check. Finally, the last Terror squad failed morale and ran 11 inches towards their board edge.
Night Lord's turn 3 movement phase. The Terror squad that were running for their lives have had a change of heart and decided to come back into the battle. They've rallied 3 inches so they can take some stuff with some bolt guns. The two dreadnoughts in the centre of the board have both started advancing towards the tactical squad with the armoured coming out of the Renault armoured carrier. The Plasma squad and the Master of Signal have stayed still. He's ordered them to stay put and keep defending this half of the board. He's also going to ready his orbital bombardment barrage and try and get rid of some Raven Guard with that. The Terror squad on the shipping containers have also moved forward towards that tactical squad to just try and wipe them out of this centre portion of the board, hopefully get some Volkite off at them. The Reconnaissance squad and the Spartan have both consolidated their positions with a view to at least contest some objectives and plink off some stuff with their various weapons. And the Terminator squad and Terror squad on the right flank have moved forward with the intention to try and take those quad mortars off the table and also contest this final slice of the board. Finally, the Lightning Strike Fighter has zoomed forward at 36 inches at full pace, dropping its Phosphex bomb cluster on the tactical squad, removing 2 Marines. Night Lord's turn 3 shooting. The Master of Signal uses orbital bombardment to smash into the Raven Guard, Dark Furies and Seekers. The Camellia line on the Seekers meant only 1 of them died, and however 5 of the Dark Furies were absolutely annihilated. The Lightning Strike Fighter continued its successful gun run, taking out a Dark Fury with a las cannon shot. The Praetor and the Night Raptors fired into the Scimitar jet bikes. The Night Raptors Sergeant and Night Raptor both used bolt pistols, but the plasma pistol on the Praetor meant that they jinked. However, they passed all their cover saves. The Terminators fired at the Rapier gun carriages. The plasma proved to be ineffective, but the hail of bolts killed one of the guns, leaving just 1 crewman. The Terror squad ran behind the Terminators, keeping in support of them. They only managed to run 2 inches, but that gets them a bit further up the table for next turn. And the Spartan fired at the Seekers with all the weapons, killing 3 of them. The Legion Recon squad aimed their sniper rifles at the jetbike Sky Slayers. They fired and caused 1 rending hit, which then was a failed jinx save, so 1 of them died. The Whirlwind Scorpius launched a barrage of 4 missiles towards the Raven Guard Assault Squad. However, without being in line of sight of either of my Nuncio Voxes meant I scattered a full 8 inches, which landed on top of the Deathstorm drop pod, which is fortuitous, for I stunned it and now it can't fire next turn. The combined firepower of the Legion Contemptor, Legion Dreadnought and remaining Terror Marines all fired at the tactical squad by the Rhino, reducing 6 of them into bloody messes, including the Sergeant. Just left 1 Marine standing still who passed his morale check. Night Lord's turn 3 assault phase. The Legion Dreadnought charged a massive 11 inches to get into combat with that lone tactical Marine. The lone tactical Marine threw a crack grenade in Overwatch but missed. And the Praetor and his Night Raptor unit charged into the Jetbike Skyslayers, whose Overwatch was ineffective. Inevitably, the Legion Dreadnought turned the lone tactical Marine into a fine pink mist in combat. The tactical Marine did manage to clamp a crack grenade to the Dreadnought, but it proved to be ineffective. The Dreadnought then consolidated back 4 inches, trying to keep the dangerous terrain from the Phosphex bomb cluster in between him and any attackers. At the initiative 6 step of the Night Lord's Praetor and Raptors assaulting the Jetbike Skyslayers, the Night Lord's Praetor swung his chainglaive with deadly effect, killing both Jetbikes, one with a rend and one with a normal armor save failed. The Praetor on the unit of Raptors consolidated 2 inches, just moved them away from some guns a little bit. Great turn for the Night Lords, making some real inroads into the Raven Guard lines, done some real damage with some shooting and combat phase as well.
Raven Guard turn 3 movement phase. The Thunderhawk Transporter has finally come in. It has moved on 18 inches, ready to relieve itself of its cargo in the following turn. Underneath, the Dark Furies have moved in to assault the Night Lord Legion Praetor and his squad. The Seeker squad that was near them has fallen back in order to try and deny the objective to the enemy. Further forward, we have an assault squad who have moved into position to clamp melter bombs onto the Dreadnought in the assault phase. Raven Guard shooting phase turn 3. Quad Mortar was able to draw line of sight to the Terror squad from the crewman, so fired a direct barrage, hitting 2 of the Night Lords, wounding 1, but he made his armor save. The Thunderhawk Transporter, in preparation for clearing the landing area, has fired 3 of its heavy bolters into the Lightning Strike Fighter, which did jink, however no damage was done. The final heavy bolter, which couldn't draw line of sight to the Lightning, fired at the Terror squad on the containers, killing 1. The Vigilator and the remainder of the Seeker squad fired into the Praetor and Night Lord's Raptor squad, failing to hit. And the Assault squad threw a crack grenade into the Dreadnought, hoping to soften it up before the charge. However, it failed to hit. Raven Guard turn 3 assault phase. The assault squad successfully made the charge into the Dreadnoughts. However, they lost 1 of their number to Overwatch fire. On the left, the Praetor and his squad have assaulted the Night Lord Raptor and Praetor. Combat between the Raven Guard Praetor and his Dark Fury squad and the Night Lord's Raptors and their Praetor. At initiative step 6, the Raven Guard Praetor rolled 7 attacks, successfully hitting with 6 of them thanks to having a chaplain in the unit. His Raven Talons then caused 2 AP3 wounds and 2 rending wounds on the squad. The Night Lord's Praetor attempted to tank the AP2 wounds, but failed. The final 2 AP3 wounds were then tanked by the Night Lord Raptor Sergeant.
Despite being felled in combat, the Night Lord Praetor still gets to attack, being that he's the same initiative as the Raven Guard Praetor. With his Nostrum and Chainglaive, he swung 5 attacks, hitting with 4 of them thanks to Child of Terror, meaning he could re-roll a 1. And he caused 3 wounds, 1 of which was rending and 2 of which were AP3. The rending hit was taken by the Chaplain, who suffered a wound, and the 2 regular AP3 hits were saved by the squad.
At initiative 5, the Raven Guard Chaplain wails in with his Crozius Maul, attacking 4 times, hitting 4 times. However, they all bounced off of the Raptor Sergeant's Artificer armor. Also, initiative step 5, the Dark Fury Sergeant steps up. He attacks 4 times with his Raven's Talons. Due to the Chaplain being in the combat, he hits all 4 times. He wounds all 4 times, but as this Night Lord's Sergeant seems to keep doing, he made all of his 2+ saves. Initiative step 4, the Apothecary steps forward and has done what nobody else in the squad could do. He strikes 3 times, hitting twice thanks to the Chaplain, wounding twice. The Artificer armor held for one of the strikes, however, it failed for the last strike with a chainsword.
Before he falls, the valiant Night Raptor Sergeant attempts to hack away at the Raven Guard Praetor one last time. Unfortunately, the Raven Guard's armor was proof against his attacks. He hit twice and wounded twice, however, both saves were made by the Praetor.
At the end of the combat, Night Lords lose by 2 points. They take their morale test, however fail, falling back, and were swept by the Raven Guard. The Raven Guard then consolidated by 3 inches.
Immediately after the Night Lord's Praetor was slain, their Legion Special Rule Seeds of Dissent has come into play. What this means is the Night Lords have all had to take an immediate morale check. The Terror Squad on the container failed their morale check and ran 7 inches. The Terror Squad that was regrouping by the edge of the board failed their morale check and ran off the board 9 inches. The Master of Signal and his unit of Plasma Support Squad failed their morale check and ran 11 inches. The Reconnaissance Squad failed their morale check and ran 12 inches. And the remaining 2 squads, the Terror Squad and the Terminators, both passed their morale checks. Obviously, with Tide of Carnage being the mission, this isn't ideal for the Night Lords, as we wanted to make progress up the board, and now half the army has decided to quit the field and run for home. In the combat between the Night Lords Dreadnought and the Raven Guard Assault Squad, the Night Lords Dreadnought went first at initiative step 4 as the Raven Guard are using melter bombs. He swung his Dreadnought close combat weapon, decapitating 1 Raven Guard.
Initiative step 1, the remaining 8 Raven Guard Assault Marines clamped melter bombs onto the Dreadnought. 6 successfully attached, of which 5 caused damage, all of which were penetrating hits, one of which managed to make the Dreadnought explode. 2 of the Raven Guard Assault Marines were caught in the ensuing explosion. Following the explosion, they moved 1 inch to consolidate. End of Raven Guard turn 3. It's good to have the Thunderhawk on the board. I think it's actually demoralised the Night Lords as they all seem to be running away. I'm looking forward to the next turn.
Night Lord's turn 4 movement phase began with all of the previously broken units rallying. The Night Lord's Rhino decided to drive up towards that assault squad to engage. The Contemptor Dreadnought stayed still in order to consolidate position in the middle of the board, maybe do some damage at range to the Assault Marines. The Spartan continued its advance up into the middle of the board. Hopefully we'll be able to engage the Seekers in the shooting phase. The Terminators and Terror Squad continue their advance up the board, hoping to get some victory points at the end of the game. And the Lightning has done all that it could to stay on the board, zooming over the heads of the Raven Guard, hoping to be able to set up for an attack run on the Thunderhawk next turn. Night Lord's turn 4 shooting phase begins with the Whirlwind firing a barrage of missiles into the Raven Guard Assault Squad. Only caused 2 hits. 2 wounds were caused, but they were saved by the Artificer armor of the Sergeant. The Contemptor fired his Volkite Culverin into the Raven Guard Assault Squad, killed 1, and the Deflagrate rule killed 1 more. The Terror Squad snapped fired their Volkite charges into the Raven Guard Assault Squad, although there was one hit, the armour was proof against it. The Night Lord's Plasma Support Squad fired 5 shots at the Raven Guard Assault Squad. They were snap firing as they just rallied. They scored 1 hit and it wounded, but it was saved by cover. However, there was 2 get hot rolls, one of which was not saved either by the Space Marine armour or the Apothecary's skill. The Night Lord's Spartan raised the quad las cannons to fire at the Raven Guard Thunderhawk Transporter. Despite being tricky shots, he landed 3 hits, only caused 1 glancing hit, however. Then used Power of Machine Spirit to fire the Heavy Bolter at the Seekers, killing 1 Marine. The Night Lord Rhino fired its Combi Bolter at the Raven Guard Assault Squad. Despite hitting and wounding, again they made their armour save. The Terminator Squad fired all their weapons at the Rapier gun carrier. The Plasma Blaster killing 1 of the gun crew, but the bolters being ineffective. No assault this turn, so turn review for turn 4 for the Night Lords. Not a bad turn. The big relief was the fact that all of the units rallied and are still on the board. Hopefully we can continue our advance next turn and score some victory points.
Raven Guard, turn 4 movement. The Thunderhawk has landed, and now there's suddenly another 1,000 points on the board. The 2 Vindicators are disembarked. They are eyeing up both the Terminator Squad and the Terror Squad. Also, from out the crew compartment of the Thunderhawk, the Tartarus Terminator Squad has disembarked, ready to do things next turn. The Assault Squad has decided that it would be better to pull back rather than risk the guns of the Night Lords at this point. Maybe they'll do something in the following turn. And finally, the Dark Fury Squad with the Praetor is moving to engage the Spartan with their melter bombs. Raven Guard, turn 4 shooting phase. The Vindicators have spoken. Both Demolisher cannons fired upon the back of the Terminator unit, hitting all 5 of the Terminators, killing 4 of them, also hitting 2 of the Terror Squad, one of which, being a sergeant, died. The quad launcher fired into the Terror Squad. A direct hit was made, wounding 5 of the Terror Squad Marines. However, they made all of their armour saves. The Thunderhawk Transporter has tried to take out the last Cataphractii Terminator with heavy bolters, scoring 5 hits. However, none of them wounded. The Deathstorm drop pod, after a turn of inactivity, has recalibrated its systems, letting loose into the Terror Squad, hitting all 3 of the Marines, killing the Sergeant in Artificer armour. Raven Guard run moves. Tartarus Terminators ran 3 inches, extending the area so that they might survive any barrages. The Assault Marines rolled a mighty 1. They split so that they won't be hurt by any barrages. The Vigilator and Apothecary rolled a 3. They've just moved further into cover. Raven Guard, turn 4, assault phase. The Praetor and his squad have assaulted into the front of the Spartan, rolling 4 inches. In the assault phase, 3 melter bombs were clamped onto the Spartan. The first melter bomb glanced. The second melter bomb glanced. The third melter bomb penetrated, causing an explode result. The ensuing explosion was 1 inch, hitting 3 of the members from the squad. However, their Artificer armour saved all of them. The end of the Raven Guard's 4th turn. The Thunderhawk landing and disgorging its cargo has decisively pushed things in the Raven Guard's favour. However, I am expecting a charge from that Cataphractii next turn, which could put paid to my plans.
Night Lords, turn 5, movement phase. Started with the Cataphractii charging valiantly towards the Demolisher armed Vindicators to try and get one of them out of action at the end of the game. The Terror Squad, despite losing their sergeant last turn, have started to move towards the Dark Fury Squad with a view to assaulting them and maybe keeping them busy for a turn. The Terror Squad, that is down to 2 members now, is just consolidating their position in the centre of the board. The Lightning has swung back, staying on the board as it can. The Contemptor has moved around to take a pot shot at the drop pod to try and glance it to death. And finally, the Scorpius and the Plasma Squad, including their Rhino, are staying still to consolidate their position in our deployment zone for the end of the game. Night Lord's turn 5 shooting phase. In a desperate bid to get the last man standing points, the Contemptor has fired at the Deathstorm drop pod, hitting with all 4 shots but causing no damage. The Whirlwind Scorpius fired a barrage of rockets toward this Raven Guard assault squad. The initial shot went very long, but the follow-up shot came back and hit 1 Raven Guard but failed to wound. Night Lord's Terror Squad drew their bolt pistols and fired at the Dark Furies. However, despite hitting them and causing a couple of wounds, the armour was too good for them this time, so no casualties caused. Night Lord's turn 5 assault phase. The lone Cataphractii Terminator decided he wants a bit of that Vindicator, so he's charged in, rolling a 7-inch charge to get there. And the Terror Squad, despite losing one of their number to Overwatch fire, have made it in against the Dark Furies. Charging in headlong against the Vindicators, the lone Cataphractii Terminator raised his chain fist and it caused 1 explode result against one of the Vindicators and a hull point and stunned on the second one.
Combat between the Dark Fury squad and the Terror squad. The Praetor struck first at initiative 6 with 6 attacks from his Raven's Talons. He hit with all of the attacks, wounding with 2 despite Shred, but that was enough to take 2 models off the board. Next in at initiative 5 is the Chaplain. He swings 3 times with his Crozius, hitting twice, wounding twice. 1 of the Terror squad was removed due to a failed armour save. First initiative 4 step, the Sergeant of the Dark Fury steps in, attacking 3 times, hitting 3 times, wounding twice at AP3, killing the last 2 remaining Night Lord Terror squad. They will, however, get to strike back as they also strike at initiative 4.
The remaining Terror Marines fought back with their 8 attacks, hit with 6, however the armour was proof against the 2 wounds caused. The squad therefore was wiped out and the Raven Guard rolled 2-inch consolidation. End of turn 5 for the Night Lords, final turn. Could have gone a lot better, could have gone a lot worse. I'm happy that I should hopefully be holding my own deployment zone for some nice tasty victory points at the end.
Final turn for the Raven Guard. The Thunderhawk has once again taken to the sky, moved forward in order to get more targets for his heavy bolters. The Assault Squad has moved forward, hoping to get a nice long charge on that Rhino to try and deny the Night Lords their deployment zone. Over where the Thunderhawk was, the Terminator Squad has now moved around to try and get some shots in at the final Cataphractii that could potentially deny my deployment zone. If that doesn't work, they will hopefully charge. Also, fresh from kicking Night Lords in their pantaloons, the Dark Furies have jumped over the rock and they will attempt to assault the lone Cataphractii Terminator. Raven Guard final shooting phase. Dark Fury squad threw a crack grenade at the lone Cataphractii Terminator. The Apothecary levelled his bolt pistol, took a shot, but they only succeeded in scratching the armour. The Tartarus Terminator squad came around the corner. The only weapon that was able to draw a line of sight was the autocannon. It only hit once, despite being twin-linked. It did wound, however, the Terminator made his armour save. The Shaken Vindicator, after reversing back to make some room, fired a single shot. It was a snapshot, however it hit. It wounded the Terminator, but again, his armour saved him. The last shot from this area of the battlefield came from the Vigilator. He'd been waiting all game for this. Took the final shot, right between the eyes. Even his force field save wasn't enough to save him. That now secures the Raven Guard deployment zone for the Raven Guard. In order to attempt to score more points for last man standing, the Thunderhawk fired all 4 heavy bolters into the last Terror Squad. All 4 heavy bolters hit with all of their shots. 7 wounds was the total, and that was enough to make sure that there were no more Terror Marines remaining. Not only has this helped towards last man standing, but it's also secured the centre for the Raven Guard. That's the end of the turn for the Raven Guard. No more shooting, no assaults. We just need to go now and tot up the results.
That was a wild ride. I think I've answered my own question. What's a Thunderhawk transporter going to do when it gets on the board? It's going to drop 2 Vindicators and it's going to destroy some Terminators. So I can't believe it. That was a spectacular game.
That was fantastic.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thoroughly enjoyed that. I mean, 4 twin-link heavy bolters. I thought, it's not going to do very much. But you did what it said it would do. It delivered what you needed in the right place.
Yeah.
So good on you.
At the right time.
At the right time. It got delayed one turn.
One turn.
Yeah. But came on. But holy hell, it did the business.
Yep.
That was a really great game. I really loved the maneuverability you both had, and you were just feeling each other out for the first couple of turns, and all of a sudden happened by turn 3, turn 4, didn't it? It was pretty wild. Let's do victory points, and then we'll dig into the game a little bit deeper. And we'll start with the Night Lords. They did a really great effort. You managed to secure your own deployment zone.
Yep.
Despite having 3 units nearly run off the board due to a...
5, thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry. 5. But you got 3 points securing your own deployment zone, so well done. The Raven Guard, however, have done the business for the day. They secured not only their own deployment zone, but also the No Man's Land, scoring 3 points for theirs, 5 for No Man's, takes them to 8. You also killed the Warlord, and you got last man standing. Final score, 10 to the Raven Guard, 3 to the Night Lords. Congratulations.
Well done.
Thanks for the game. And thanks for inviting us.
Oh, hey, no problem. We've got a lot more to go just yet. But great work. We'll start with the victorious Raven Guard. Unit you've brought back is your Furies.
Yes.
Tell me about them.
Well, it's kind of the Praetor, really, but the Dark Furies, if they hadn't have been absolutely minced on turn, 3? They would have done a lot more heavy lifting. As it was, the Sergeant, and he was taking models off. The Praetor was taking models off. They just dealt with anything they came across.
Those lightning claws, those rending raven talons, they're ridiculous.
They only get better the more you've got of them as well.
Yeah, true. They did a good job. They got a high number of attacks, and the AP3, then with the running at AP2.
Yeah,
they're quite a formidable unit. They did a good job.
And the obvious choice would have been the Thunderhawk, but I just feel that they did more actual work than the Thunderhawk. The Thunderhawk just was psychological. Yeah,
I guess so. It just flew in and dropped some stuff off, didn't it? Yeah.
Just some stuff.
And honestly, they're the unit I've been scared of leading up to this.
Oh, okay.
I've been thinking they were going to be the thorn in my side, and lo and behold,
they were. And Ian, you brought back your... I'm a bit unfamiliar with Night Lords. Night Raptors, thank you.
Yeah, and my Praetor as well. Primarily I just brought them back because the Sergeant made... I think it was over 30 2+ saves.
I think it was all of the saves.
It was all the saves. I don't think I made a save anywhere else in the army.
I only took it down when I was using AP2.
Yeah, and he just tanked all those hits and enabled us to keep moving. And they had a fairly respectable go of it in combat. The Praetor cut down those jet bikes like they weren't there.
Oh yeah,
so that was really nice to see them actually doing some work and getting some results. Because usually they get shot off the board because people are scared of jump infantry for the most part. Certainly when it's full of power weapons and chain glaives. But I think they did themselves quite proud for their survivability more than anything else.
It's also the new Praetor model as well, isn't it? Is that the new Praetor?
The Sergeant is based on the new Praetor model, yeah. My actual Praetor model is based on the Raven Guard Captain Corvidae.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly the same model mine's based on.
Okay.
There you go. He's quite a dynamic pose because he's kind of leaning forward. He's got his thunder hammer.
Yeah.
He just peel those bits off.
Yeah, I had to do quite a bit of work to him to make him not quite so Imperium happy.
Yes. Yeah.
And not quite so much in Mark 6 armor, of course. But the thing about the Sergeant with the new Night Lord Praetor model is I couldn't believe how much the dynamism of the model changed just because I turned his head round from the Forge World one, because he's pointing that way and moving a bit. But I've put him on a slight slope, moved him to look down, and it instantly changed the whole model.
Yeah, we mentioned at the top of the show that you put a lot of effort with changing all the posing and converting each model, and it's quite a unique looking force, isn't it?
I like to think so.
Yeah,
I think I've.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. I mean, I've as I said at the start of the show, it's one of those armies that I've either kit bashed or converted pretty much every model, which isn't an easy feat in itself. And when you're trying to make a Terminator hold a chain glaive two-handed, that was a tearing my hair out moment. I'm surprised I've got as much as I have. But yeah, it all pays dividends at the end when you're looking at this kind of army. And what I really like to see in Space Marine armies is interesting stuff.
Sure.
Because ultimately, certainly, 10 years ago maybe, Space Marine armies were a dime a dozen, and all of them were clipped off the sprue, and they were boring.
Yeah, I guess
so. So to make, for me, if I want to make another Marine army, it's going to have to be quite dynamic and quite interesting to look at, and that's sort of the core of this army. I've put quite a lot of, as I say, a lot of thought into how each model looks and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, it's good. It certainly shows, and it certainly gives you the distinction. It's not just the blue armor plate that's different to, say, Raven Guard's black plate. It's all those little extra accoutrements and all the little poses and stuff that really make them stand out. So it's a lovely looking force.
Thank you.
Really cool. Oh, there's so much to talk about, really. For me, there was a couple of key points which I raised during the game. That Death Storm drop pod where it went. It was a bit wasted.
It was.
Shot more of your units than the Night Lords, right?
Ian did psychological warfare. Do you really want to put it that close to that plasma squad? I'm like, he's going to shoot it down, isn't he? I wish I had put it right next to that plasma squad because, what could have happened? It could have blown up, taken out the plasma squad.
Yeah, exactly
right.
Yeah.
I probably would have only taken a couple of glancing hits on it as well. Yeah. So I think it would have been fairly safe there.
Yeah. It's a good job it seemed to be loaded with blanks anyway at first.
I loved, we talked at the beginning about you've modelled it differently. I love the fact that you've got the plumes of the missiles coming out of the Death Storm.
It's a lovely touch.
Looks really cool.
Makes it look like it's a Death Storm rather than just another drop pod on the table.
And you've obviously duplicated that on your Furies, haven't you?
Yeah. And it's a simple technique.
There was a point where when the lightning flew across the board and it got really, really close to the Raven Guard there, it looked like the Raven Guard was part of the Night Lord's flyer base.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool because it's so far out from his base on that plume of smoke. It looked really cool. I think I've taken a photo of it. Yeah, this guy here. That was really cool. And then for the Night Lords, the lightning not flying off in your turn to come on going reserves to get a better line of sight.
I absolutely should have done that. I had the concept that it was going to spin around, and I was expecting Steve to bring the Thunderhawk down in my deployment zone.
Yeah.
So given that, I would have had a lovely attack run on it with those crack and penetrate missiles, which I didn't even fire, and that would have been. It would have been much nicer, but as it was 250 points of nothing, really. Yeah,
it's a shame. You were playing Aeronautica Imperialis, that's what you were doing.
That's what I was doing.
Planes on the table.
Yeah, do a loop next time.
Yeah, which you're quite excited for. Games Workshop released that, soon. Okay, it's in the 41st millennium, but it's really interesting, isn't it? We'll see where that goes in the future.
Looking forward to that.
It will be pretty cool. Hex on a little 3x3 and...
It looks like a really good suitcase army.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Just pop it in your travel bag and play in a hotel room. It just looks fantastic.
That'd be really, really cool. I really, really enjoyed that game. These guys know each other as well, and it really told the story, that you could help the kind of the relationship between you two in today was really good because you know each other and that really helped. So it's always good to get guys on the channel that know each other. So it was really cool. I know you've put a lot of time and effort. You both come up from Bristol. So again, thank you for your efforts. Hopefully I've tempted them back to both come back for another game, but also to maybe do an army showcase or army focus, we're calling it. It'd be really great to just get a board built, get these two blokes here to talk about their army at length and take a little bit more time as to why you've gone for the legions you've gone and what you've done. So perhaps if I can tempt you back with a sandwich and a bottle of pop, that might be able to get them back to come away from Bristol. So fingers crossed. We would love to see a rematch, I would imagine. We don't get many Raven Guard Night Lord players on the channel, so really good to have two really well painted armies and two really great guys to battle it out. So hopefully we'll see more of you if I can tempt you down.
Absolutely. It's been a great day.
Go on then.
Yeah. I have taken a ton of photos from this game, so when the game is released, please go to the Facebook page. There's a load of photos for you to enjoy. However, if you want to keep up with these gents and what they're up to in the meantime, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram as Aegis_Aquila.
Fantastic.
I'm also on Instant Ham and I am Weber 30k.
Great, and if I've done my job, they are on the bottom, so please give them a follow. And if you've got any questions about their game, their painting, or just because they're nice blokes, you can chat to them on social media. So just in case. I really hope you've enjoyed today.
Definitely.
100%. Definitely. Brilliant.
I know it's a long day, but the game will make a good take, and I think it will look really, really cool. Your models are just absolutely spectacular. Thank you so much. I really hope you've enjoyed it too. Please let us know your comments. I'd love to hear what you thought, and we'll see you in the next game.